Watching Sam pop up in front of him, Zack started blasting away like he was sending tree-dwelling people a get-well-soon card. To avoid any more mishaps, Zack had to let everyone drop from the tree, and suddenly, Sam was hopping onto Zack's shoulders like a featherweight wrestling champ. Sam clung to Zack, and with a crash, Zack was defeated, half of him slithering into bushes like a snake. The others were so scared they froze, realizing the only way to survive the night was to find the magic rock in the forest, or else they'd be ghosting each other. Out of nowhere, Kern, who just got hit, popped up like a jack-in-the-box and started laughing like a saint. Before Kern could finish counting, Shaq face planted on the ground, and they knew they had to hightail it as ear-piercing screams erupted from the woods. Everyone else bolted from the forest, but then out of nowhere, a thick fog rolled in, leaving Nevin looking like the unfortunate player who forgot to pick up his power-up. Panic swept over them like a wave, as ghostly gals appeared like they were crashing a party. Nevin prayed desperately to stop this madness, and when he opened his eyes again, poof, the ghost was gone. Now the little squad of 6 was down to 3 scaredy cats as they sprinted toward the rock quarry, the forest's version of a safety net. Hume fired off a handful of rocks like he was tossing confetti to boost everyone's spirits. Just then, Nevin came barreling toward them, and the trio couldn't help but wonder if they had the right guy. Realizing they were onto him, Nevin retreated into the fog with a dramatic growl. According to legend, if you cling to a tiger, you can transform into a tiger person, but it looks like Nevin had already checked out. The trio pressed on before dawn, soon reaching the legendary altar of the ghostly Envy, surrounded by mysterious bloody remains. Jing, recalling his sister's untimely demise, fiercely hurled the altar plaque down, venting his frustration on the rotting meat. Suddenly, a monster rose from the central pond, and Master Zhong panicked, trying to shoot it, but his bullets just didn't pack a punch. He sighed with lament. "I've been searching for a way to escape for 100 years, but this thing just won't let me go." Turns out, the monster was a soldier saved by a ghost from a century ago, and had been stuck here ever since. Because the ghost had a literal grip on his stomach, the soldier was forced to hunt down live humans as snacks for her. "So why don't you just take him out then?" "I'm almost finished, but Crawl crashed my plan, ruining my ceremony. My ancestor misunderstood the king's intention back in the day. To safeguard the villagers, Luz commanded a fiery attack on the little witch. Who would have ever thought that was exactly the king's ghost-catching ritual? To stop the ghost from wreaking havoc, the king wore a charm, keeping the forest safe and sound. He continuously shouted at the little witch, 'I've helped you already.' The king hid his charm in the pond, trying to cover his tracks like a hide-and-seek champion. If his identity got revealed, the ghost would snatch back his tongue for show. Just then, Luz sliced off the charm along with the king's arm." Subtitles: Turns out Luz intended to enter the forest to make a deal with the female ghost. He was willing to sacrifice the king as a bargaining chip just to keep his family safe from the ghost. Unfortunately, the charm fell, and the ghost casually seized control of the entire forest. To avoid any mind tricks, the brave duo stealthily held onto their rocket launchers like trusted bodyguards for their hearts. But Luz couldn't dodge this fate either. He ended up handing the ghost's body back to the king. Next thing you know, the female ghost had grasped firmly onto the king's hand. Suddenly, the ghost materialized behind the king and grabbed his hair like she was ready for a dramatic showdown. She then proceeded to launch attacks at his weak spots. Amidst the king's painful howls, she finally managed to get her tongue back. Invigorated, the ghost lunged at the recently revived Luz like a hungry wolf. Subtitles: Then she turned her attention to an overly anxious Jack. She placed her hand on Jack's head and started mumbling spells like a witch on a caffeine high. Enchanted by her magic, Jack lost all his alertness and went cabin by himself. Subtitles, but hold on, the story isn't over yet today. Jack's sister Yen is tying the knot at a hotel. But suddenly, torrential rain began pouring outside, making it a total no-show for the guests. Everyone nervously waited in the hall when the lights suddenly went out, making them jumpy as cats. At that moment, the ghost emerged, first hovering over Yan's Feng before morphing into the mother figure. Then, she beckoned her little sister to walk outside with her. Peeking through the window, little sister freaked out when she noticed that her mother had no shadow. Realizing she had been used, the female ghost immediately dropped her disguise and got ready to act. She reached out to grab little sister's liver as if at a dinner. Just as little sister tried to stab the ghost with the nearby umbrella, the possessed mother got in the way like a bouncer. Little sister found herself in a real bind, but just in the nick of time, Jack and John rushed in. Turns out, Jack didn't really shoot himself, he was saved by the king's charm. With their teamwork, the ghost rapidly fizzled out from the mother's body like a bad memory. But the ghost wasn't done. She transformed and whisked Jan away to another dimension. She then acted all sweet and nostalgic, pretending to long for her sister. But as she was getting close, her true face suddenly transformed. Subtitles. She screamed hoarsely, "Sister, I want you